Right.
on the fifth day.
On the fifth day.
Yeah, you know why?
Why Dafka the fifth day? No, I never
It
heard that.
is, no matter what year, whether it's an Uber year, whether it's not an Uber year, whether months or Mole or Chotzer, the fifth day of Hanukkah never comes out on Shabbos under any circumstance. So that was the designated day. We did not.
Oh, okay. I know my kids in Eretz Yisrael, their, I don't say preference from a financial, but their preference from a halachic view is the min of maintaining it being Hanukkah geld and not a presence, not
Right. But it's also nowadays,
More
we got a phone call from one of our grandchildren. Thank you for the Hanukkah geld. So I said, you're very welcome. Then I called his father back and told him you're supposed to wait till the fifth day. He says, you kidding with my kids? You can't wait till the fifth day.
Right.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
I suggest that everyone donate $5 if you agree with. To get the juice. He's been putting our coffee up every day. He set
I
it up in
accept
the other,
that.
in the other library. He's
I'll
been very nice to us.
go along with that. Melvin, come get the money.
I will collect, okay.
All right.
I'm in tomorrow, God willing.
And you'll
Blah.
need 5.
Okay.
No, that's a very good idea.
Excellent.
Especially from the person who gave him a birthday present last week.
That was Zev.
That's who, he's the one who made the suggestion. Zev. And
I
Zev is the
already
type who
gave him my
cares
own
about
donation.
the working man.
No, Juice is good.
No, I'm no one's quarreling.
Here's $5. Oh, you got it.
Here, give me back $5.
Here's $5.
Yeah, can you break a 10? Another 10?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Here's 5.
Oh,
Single.
Zev, not only are you a sweet person, but you're also a banker.
Oh, yes, he is.
That's my own.
What is this?
That's, I'll get the 5.
I have given out my own Hanukkah geld to other people, so I have it here.
You want to take my phone?
All right. Juice might think you tell them it's a Hanukkah gift and not Christmas bonus. So
You're not allowed to give an Xmas gift.
I told them specifically with the Hanukkah.
Right. And you're also not allowed to give a gift within 3 days of a Goyish holiday, even if it's not related to.
all right, let's get
learned.
started. Yeah, we did. Okay, learning sponsors. Year of Learning, many friends of Stephen Vigdor, the Zechen Nishmat Simcha Melech B'Meir Leib Halevi, friends of Marcy Kurtz, in memory of her great niece Leah Bracha, Isaac and Evelyn Blacho, in memory of his sister Chaya Rachel Bas Isser, friends of Leonie Meisem and Leah Sabra Bas Chanoch Zundel. 2 months of learning by the friends of Milton Meller in honor of his second bar mitzvah. A month of learning by Chaim and Phyllis Reese in memory of his father Mordechai ben Yom Tov Lipa, Isaac and Evelyn Blacho in memory of his mother Zisel Bas Chaim Yitzchak, Ron and Susan Podolsky in memory of his mother Fela Bas Shrago Feivel, Phyllis and Chaim Reese in memory of her father Pinchas ben Abraham, Rabbi Dr. Yankee and Malka Honig in memory of his sister Chava Bat Harav Simcha ben Yamin, his brother Tzvi Aaron Zeb ben Harav Simcha ben Yamin, his father Harav Simcha ben Yamin ben Harav Yosef Yitzchak, her mother Sosha Bat Chayna, B. Pizer in memory of her sister Rita Greenberg. A week of learning by the family of Danny Shepatovsky in memory of their father and grandfather Daniel ben Aharon David, Marcia Fried and family in memory of Milton, Yitzchak Mordechai ben Avraham. Today is the what? Today is the 19th.
19th.
Right. Yes, there is. Okay, Rosemary and Alan Katz in memory of her mother Rena Bat Yaakov Shmuel, Judah Klein in memory of his father-in-law Peretz ben Moshe. Okay, and Shem to have an Aliyah, Crank Rafia, Vati Yeshua, Shem and Talia, and Chol B'nai Israel, a good Kaben Shia.
Amen.
Okay. All right, I will do the best I can. I can't talk about blanching food the way Michael did so well. things like that.
No, today is burdens,
Burdens,
not blanch.
okay. That depends, all right. Nun hey,
Nun
Amud
hey,
Aleph,
Amud
top of the Amud, right?
Commencing a new mission.
Okay, we start a new Mishnah. Irwin left already. Irwin went up north. He wasn't in Shul this morning, right?
Yeah, so.
Right?
Could have done.
Yeah, no, they were going up because of
And she
the,
also went.
what?
And she also went.
Ashley also told her, she told me yesterday he would be out a couple of days.
And I'll be leaving
You're
tomorrow.
going up to spend Hanukkah with the,
Yeah, give my grandson his menorah. I
Right.
mean, his Megillah.
oh, nice, very nice. Okay, matnitin, okay? We'll do the best we can today. Hanoder min hadagan, one who makes a vow refraining from eating dagan. Okay, and I'm going to translate dagan here for the moment as grain.
Heaped.
Okay, we're going to get to that in a second.
Heaped.
Okay, so what do we mean by grain? The Gemara is going to tell us, okay, that it is something that is heaped up in piles. Okay, that's where we're going to be headed, be moving. Therefore, Asur b'pul hamitzri yavesh. He is prohibited in Egyptian bean, dry Egyptian bean, because that also, Harvey, you okay?
No, I'm looking for the more.
Here, take mine. I did it yesterday. Go.
I'll find it.
Isn't it a big one?
Yeah.
So what, it's not,
Irwin's is there.
what, Irwin's is
So
there?
take Irwin.
So take
take
Irwin's today.
Yeah.
And then we'll
No
check.
problem.
Okay, why? Because the dry Egyptian beans were piled up the
And
same
ground
way
into
like
flour.
grain, either in a granary or some other
And then they were
situation,
ground
right?
in flour, like
Divrei Rabbi Meir, that's the view of Rabbi Meir, okay? V'chachamim omrim eino asur ela b'chameshet hamini. But the sages disagree, and they say when the phrase dagan is used, what it's referring to is the 5 basic varieties: oat, wheat, spelt, rye, and I forgot one offhand. Okay. Anyway, what I want to point out as we now continue, Rabbi Meir Omer, says Rabbi Meir, hanoder min hatvu'ah. Notice the difference in the language, everybody, between dagan and tvu'ah, and I'm going to raise a point in that in a second. Eino asur ela mechameshet hamini. Okay, and that situation where he uses the word language of tvu'ah instead of dagan, then it's the 5 meaning. This comes, I'm going to suggest, okay, and I didn't see this in either Art Scroll or Koran. I'm suggest this comes back to an earlier argument that we saw in the Gemara as to whether use of biblical language or use of everyday language, okay, is how we define and understand the person's neder, okay? And so here again, we see this as an issue, okay? But what happens? Aval hanoder min hadagan, the one who, again, makes a vow against items like, I'm going to say now, like grain that are piled up,
which would now include all kidneys.
okay? Asur bakol. That would prohibit any kind of item of that variety. Okay. Now, what happens? That if all piled items that could be include other items, okay? What does it, if it forbids all of those, umutar b'perot ha'ilan u'b'yerek. It would then, however, permit, okay, fruit, particularly from fruit from trees, okay, and vegetables, okay? And this is according to it. Okay, so what happens? Gemara, Lememra, it comes to tell us, the dagan called the midgan b'mashma. Does this mean that when we talk about dagan, it means anything that is piled up? Okay, Metiv Rav Yosef. However, Rav Yosef is going to challenge that idea by citing a pasuk. And what does he tell us here in this pasuk? Ukifrotz hadavar hirbu b'nei Yisrael, as the items increased in abundance, it's Israel. Okay, Roshim. Dagan tirosh v'yitzar kol tfuat sadeh Larov Gomer. Okay, so notice that Dagan is not the only item mentioned in the pasuk. Okay, it implies Tirosh, Yitzah, and Tfuah. So
It was
right?
anything.
So Tfuah Sasada. So by using that language, Rav Yosef's challenge is that, okay, that
It was anything that they took Trumas and Meisers.
okay,
They weren't doing it. So Cheskiyahu said,
right.
you have to bring your Trumas and Meisers to
Right.
Yerushalayim.
Okay.
And everybody got excited and everybody was giving extra.
Right. But the point, that's true. But the implication seems to be by his challenge that how can you say that it's limited to only those items that are piled up like Tvua or Dagan? That's the implication of his challenge. V'amar Dagan. And if you're saying the word Dagan, Rabbi Meir, okay, namely things that are like grain which are piled up, Kol Damid Gan Mashma. That would seem to include any kind of, I'm going to use the word produce for the moment, okay, right? That even, right, any kind of produce, and we know, right, that's Trumos and Masros, that is capable of being piled up. What's the situation? Kifrotz hadavar hebu. Because as the item, since they were in such plentiful amount, they had to pile it up in order to present it. Amar Abaye, says Abaye, le'atuye perot ha'ilan v'yerek. So this would then seem to include as well fruit, produce from trees, and as well as grain and vegetables. In other words, anything harvested at one time and that can be piled up in a granary. Okay, right? So what happens? Rabbi Meir Omer. We come back to Rabbi Meir. Hanoder min hatvua. Okay, remember Rabbi Meir made a distinction between Dagan and Tvua. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, he says as follows, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Hakol modim benoder min hatvua. Everyone is in agreement that one makes their vow, and they use the language I'm going to say of Tvua in the wording of that. She'ein isur ela michameshet haminim. That there is no prohibition except for the 5 key grains. Okay? Tanya nami hachi. And we have a Braita that teaches this as well. Shavim, they all agree, namely Chachamim and Rabbi Meir, right? Benoder min hatvua, that when one makes a vow utilizing the tvua term, she'ein isur ela mechamesh haminim, that there is nothing prohibited except for those 5 varieties. Shita, isn't that obvious? Mahu detema. Then what are you trying to tell us here? Tvua kol mile mashma. That when we use the word tvua, maybe we're including all kinds of items. Okay? Kamash malan delo mashma kol mile. No.
Maybe even the Chachamim would accept Tvua to mean anything. I mean, Tvua to mean anything.
Additional items besides those 5 meaning. Okay? But comes to tell us by using the pasuk there that that's not the case.
And that they agree with the
Okay. So now, Meitiv Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef then responds and gives another challenge. But what about our pasuk that said, "Ukifrot hadavar herbu b'nei Yisrael v'chuli"? Okay. So Mar, now to explain that, Rava tries to give an answer. Amar Rava, Tvua lechud, Tvuat sadeh lechud. No, there's one thing that we refer to as Tvua, namely particularly grains, and there is other, what we'll call for the moment, produce of the field, that is separate.
And
that is something else.
Right?
Okay. So what happens? Now we get to another case. And this is a story. Okay? Bar Mar Shmuel. Okay? So the implication here is still, we really haven't answered the total question. as to are we talking about the 5 grains
How broad is it?
particularly, or do we include other gains or profits that may accrue that what might be like the other items, other produce in this particularly, but more than just that. So our story is going to come to give us some understanding of that question. Okay, Bar Mar Shmuel, Bar the son of Shmuel, Pakid Delit Nun, Tleiser al Pezuze the Rava, Min Alalata de Nahar Panya. Okay, that Bar the son of Shmuel apparently had a debt, according to one view.
Or a will, he wrote
Okay.
a will.
All right, there were 2 different pshatim there. Okay, regarding that, and he decreed that his workers would provide a right to give 12,000 zuz to Rabba min alalta de nahar panya from the, and right now I'm going to use the word crop for alalta, but alalta could mean more than just crop.
Nicholas uses it as profit.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Okay, but there are others who want to say alalta is the Targum Onkelos version for teruah, but he means gain or profit. Okay, heichi mikra. Right. So what happens? Okay, shalcha Rava lekame de Rav Yosef. So Rava sends a message with a shaila to Rav Yosef. Alalta hechi mikre. Okay, when I say this gain, okay, or profit, or however we want, okay, what does it include? That's his question. Okay, Amar Rav Yosef, matnidin hai. This is a Mishnah that we learn. V'shavin benoder min hatvua she'eni sur ela mechameshet ha'amini. That we saw our Mishnah telling us that there's agreement between the Chachamim and Rabbi Meir that one makes a vow regarding tevuah, that any prohibition there is applicable only to the 5 varieties. Okay, the implication being that Rav Yosef would understand alalta as crop, tevuah, as opposed to a larger gain or profit. Okay, Amar le Abai, midami. Abai is questioning and asks, are they really comparable? Tevuah lo mashma ela michameshet haminim. But when we use the term tevuah, we ordinarily understand it as limited to the 5 varieties. Alalta, kol mile mashma. But when we use the term alalta, that would seem to imply a broader category, more profit, more gain.
Anything that
Okay,
generates
something that can be right. So what happens? Okay, now we see. All right, there is notice, by the way, here that Rav Yosef does not challenge Abaye's statement, and so the implication seems to be, since there's no response by Rav Yosef, it would seem that he's agreeing in this situation. However, ahadruhu lekame de Rava, the word got back to Rava that Rav Yosef did not challenge Abaye's explanation that alalta means a greater gain, greater profit. Okay, so what happens? Amar ha lo kama bayili. That wasn't what I was asking about. The alalta kol mile mashma. That I'm aware of the fact, Rava is saying, that alalta implies a greater amount. In other words, may not be limited simply to tevuah, but it may refer to net profit or gain.
But is it just agriculture?
Right. That's where we're headed. Chadahu de Abaye. The one thing that I'm asking about is other income that may have been due to Bar ben Shmuel. Is that what's coming to me? Okay. namely, for example, schar beitim, the schar sfina, schar batim or schar sfina. Okay, namely the rent that might come from houses or property, or the rent from boats and things like that, whatever it could be coming, that ordinarily would have gone to Bar Ben Shmuel. Okay, what's the status of that? Mi amrin in kevan de pachtan lav alaltahi. Do we say that since these items deteriorate, in other words, they reduce in value? Okay, in that case, okay, whether it's the house or the boat, okay, that's the case, and therefore they're not included in the alalta. Or perhaps Dilma, kevan de lo yadia pachatayu. Or is it possible, since we don't know their rate of deterioration and therefore can't determine the situation, alaltahi, that therefore that should be included, okay, in some sort of profit. Okay, Amruha Rabbanan Kame de Rav Yosef. So the rabbis then went and said before Rav Yosef the following: Amar v'chi me'achar delo tzarich lan. Okay, since Rava doesn't seem to need us when in terms of the way he phrased the question. In other words, he's already familiar with what the term alalta is and the clarification. Okay, why amai shalach lan? Why then did he even take our time to ask the question and make us go through the whole rigmarole of discussing and things like that? As a result, Ikpid Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef was angry. Okay, Shema Rava, and Rava heard that the Rav Yosef was displeased or angry with him. So what did he do? Okay, Va'ata lekame b'male yom de kippurei. So Rava came in person, okay, to appear before Rav Yosef on the eve of Yom Kippur. Okay, and on that occasion, what did he find? Ashkuche l'shame dahave kamazik kame kasa dechama. He found that the servant of Rav Yosef was preparing for him a cup of wine. Now remember, the reason I'm using preparing is because their wine was very strong and it had to be mixed with water. And that's why we use the word mazig, okay? There was a difference of opinion as to what was the ratio between water and wine. Rava held it was one ratio, I believe 3 parts to 1, and others felt that was not
That's still too thick.
right? That's right. Okay. So what happens? So he met the servant of Rav Yosef, who remember was blind, and therefore the story.
Yosef was blind.
Rav Yosef, not the servant, right? All right. And what happens, right? Kame, right? Amarle. So Rava says to the servant, Havli da amzig le aga ana. Please give it to me so that I can mix the wine myself. Okay? Vahavle. And Rava then gave it to Rav Yosef. Okay, the servant gave the cup to Rava, the Erev Yom Kippur. Okay, v'kam mazik ihu kasa dechamra, and Rava himself mixed the cup of wine. Okay, kikashate, when Rav Yosef drank the wine, Amar, he says, Hadin mizka dame lemizka de Rava bere de Rav Yosef bar Cham. He says this mixture is comparable to the kind of mixture normally made by Rava. Okay, by Rava. Okay, and we said that there was a different ratio of water to wine. Okay, all right, and that's how Rav Yosef, even though he was blind, was able to know that it was Rava who had mixed the cup. Okay, all right. So what happens? Okay, right. So we go on. Ki kashate amar. Right, we said that. Right, that this was Mizga Demei.
Don't make yourself
Mizga de Rava Bere de Rav Yosef Barcham. Okay. Now, Rav Yosef then says to Rava, Amarle, says to him, Hu nihu? It's he himself. Now, Rava says, yes, I'm here. Amarle, Rav Yosef now responds to him. Lo titiv akarcha adamartli perusha dahadin milt. Don't sit in your feet. In other words, remain standing. The implication is remain standing in order to, before I let you sit before me, and you need to tell me the explanation of the following item. Okay, and he's going to cite a pasuk. Right? Okay, so that's the case. My dichtiv, what does it mean when the pasuk says, midbar matana, matana nachliel, nachliel bamot? Okay, how do you interpret this pasuk? Okay, and I gotta say that this is a real piece of darshanut.
This is a beautiful,
right? I mean, you can, right? So notice remember, normally when we read this pasuk, and I think Mel will agree, right? It's locations, right? Places, place names, right? So what happens?
Yeah, the problem is it's not in the comprehensive list of all the stops.
Right, it's
So you
not
have
there.
to darshan it. It can't
Right.
be in place.
Right? So what has Amarle? Kevan she'ose adam et etzmo kamidbar. That when a person makes himself like a wilderness, alone, empty, okay? Shahu mufkar lakol. Okay, one translated I had found said open, another said deserted. Okay, I like to think mufkar here is similar to our use of the phrase hefker. Exactly.
He makes himself.
He teaches Torah to everybody,
Okay,
He opens his
or
house. to
anybody
everybody
can
who
learn
wants to
Torah
come
from.
in
okay,
and learn.
he makes himself available, is what I would,
Right.
I think
That's
would
good.
be a nice translation. Okay, not that I didn't, but I just felt that. Okay, how does he make himself available? Right, by teaching Torah. Torah nitna lo b'matana.
Then God gives him
The
this
Torah
knowledge.
gives him a gift, namely of Torah, Shneamar, Umimidbar, Matana. From the desert, okay, comes a gift, right? What happens? Kevan shenitna lo b'matana, since it was given to him as a gift, nachalo el. Okay, it is an inheritance
From
that
God.
is from Hashem. Okay, Shneamar, Umimatana nachli el. V'kevan shenachlu el, and since Hashem gave him this inheritance, what happens? Ole legedula, he goes up. Okay,
He becomes great.
he becomes great. But the question is, do we understand gedula here as haughty as well?
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
First,
That's
he's
the
like har.
implication.
He's like
Okay,
Bama.
Shneamar minachli el bamot. Okay, from the inheritance of Shem, he goes higher up. Ve'im higbia atzmo. All right, but if he
Gets
makes
impressed with
himself right haughty, right, Hakadosh Baruch Hu mashpi lo. Then the Kadosh Baruch Hu
Tosses
reduces him.
down.
Shene Amar mibamot higia Hagai. But from the heights, he goes down to the valley.
To the
V-
depths.
Right? V'la'od, and not only that, Ela sheshokin oto b'karka, but he makes him sink into the
And he
ground.
goes even below ground level.
Shene Amar v'nishkefa al pnei hayishimon. So he continues by citing the rest of that passage.
Okay.
Right? All right. Ve'im chozer bo hakadosh baruch hu magbi'o. And if he repents and that, then the Kadosh Baruch Hu
Gains a
raises
little
him
modesty,
back
raises
up.
him back up.
Right? Shene Amar, as we go to the top of the next
And the rest
Amud,
of the pasuk,
Ko Gai Yinaseh. Okay, that then from the valley he's raised up. Okay. Nice
Kol
brief.
Gai Yunus, every valley will
Right,
eventually
rise.
rise.
Right? Okay. No peace. Hanoder min hadagan. We're back to that issue of the language of the vow.
We don't have any idea whether Rabbi Yosef appreciated this drasha or not.
Well, you have to ask yourself, who could Rava have learned it from? Okay, that's
This
also
is
the
one of
question.
things Rabbi Yosef forgot, you think?
Don't know. I don't know.
No, I mean, it's just interesting. They don't have any. It just
No
tells this
reaction.
Story and there's
No
no
reaction.
further reaction.
Okay. Hanoder min hadagan.
By the way, sing this truck,
Yeah.
Lady.
Right. Uh-huh. Asur af bapul hamitzri yavesh. We come back to what our Mishnah said, telling us that one who made the vow regarding Dagan in their language, vow language, it includes the dry Egyptian beans.
According to it.
Okay, that was Rabbi Meir, remember? Umutar balach, but he would be permitted with the
Fresh.
moist, okay, the moist one. Umutar ba'ores, and he would be permitted with rice. Okay, ubechalika, betargin, ubetisnei, and he would also be permitted then with kernels of wheat that are divided into halves, thirds, or quarters. Okay. Hanodar min haperot, hashana, one who makes a vow prohibiting himself the fruit of that year.
Of the year.
Okay, that year. Asur b'chol perot hashana. Okay, he is prohibited with all of the varieties of fruit that are that year. Umutar begidiyim, but he is permitted to have lambs. Okay, tlaim. Okay, ubechalav ubebeitzim. Okay, he's permitted to have lamb meat, goat meat, milk, eggs, ubegozalot, small birds. Ve'imamar gidulei shana alav. But were he to have phrased his neder, anything that grew this year, asur bekulan, he would be prohibited in all of these items.
Anything that actually grew, even if it's animal.
Right. Okay. Next, hanoder min haperot haaretz, one who makes a vow prohibiting themselves any, let's call it fruit of trees and earth for the moment. Asur.
This is one of the three categories of vegetables. This would be eggplants, tomatoes, any vegetable.
Okay, I had a different
It
shot.
also is fruit trees, but the dafka, we talked about that the other day. The seeds, the body of the plant,
I
and
understand.
the fruit of the plant are the three edible portions.
Okay, sure. Asur b'chol perot haaretz, he is forbidden with all of these items. Okay, umutar b'kamayin upitriot, but it would seem that he would be permitted with truffles and mushrooms. Okay, now ve'imama gidulei karka alai, but were he have phrased his vow to prohibit anything that grows from the land, okay, asur bekulan, then he would be prohibited in all of those items, including truffles and mushrooms. Okay.
It's interesting they had truffles.
Yeah.
You know, truffles like $300 for a little truffle.
I don't know. That's the question.
They're found by dogs or pigs, but so what?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that truffles are extraordinarily expensive.
Yeah.
And they would just add them, but you can eat truffles if you can't eat pizza.
Okay. Uminhe. Okay, uminhe, so we challenge. Al davar she'en gidulo min haaretz. What about the fact if he said that something that doesn't grow from the ground? Omer, if that's what he says, shakol bidvaro, that we say everything is included from his word. In other words, from Hashem's creation. That's the bracha you make on any of these things.
Brachas you make on various.
Right, but therefore that's the challenge to the fact that how can you say that all these things,
the
karka,
so a chicken you make chahako.
right? So therefore, why do you say that that would be prohibited? V'tanya.
And then we have another price.
And then we have a brisa that says, Al Hamelech, regarding salt, Ve'al Hazumin, and regarding salt water or brine, Ve'al Kmahim Upitriot, and on truffles and on mushrooms. Omer, he says, Shakol Niyeh Bidvaro, that that's what
say that's called.
So how can
National Paleosaurus.
right? So how can you say that that's included in Kol Perot Haaretz, and that therefore that would be prohibited? Okay, Amar Abaye. Abaye says, Mirba Rabu Me'ara. Okay, right? There are these things, he said, that indeed are much that they grow from the earth, meaning Ma'avira Yanki. But what they do is they derive their sustenance, their nutrients from the air.
Below,
Right.
not from the ground, even though they're located on the
Okay. Me'avira Yanki, velo me'ara, and not from the ground. V'hakatani. But aren't we taught al davar she'ein gidulo min haaretz? Okay, aren't we taught regarding something that doesn't grow from the ground? Right? Tani al davar she'ein yonek min haaretz. Instead, rephrase the Braita and teach it this way: al davar she'ein yonek min haaretz, something that doesn't derive its sustenance from the ground.
We now know, by the way, that truffles and mushrooms do derive their sustenance from the substrate.
Yeah. Okay. All right. New Mishnah. Okay. Now, somebody is going to make a vow regarding a garment, clothing. Okay. Hanodeh min haksut, mutar b'sak, b'yiri'ah u'b'chamila. One who makes a vow prohibiting for themselves certain clothing or a garment is permitted to wear sackcloth, permitted to wear a sheet, okay, or permitted to wear a chamila, which I found as a kind of curtain.
Poncho. So it's cloth that's impregnated, so it's waterproof. So it's like our plastic poncho.
Okay, that's later on in the Gemara.
Analog. Well, that's what the word means.
Well, but I'm just saying that's the question. Okay. Again, the implication is that these were more woolen garments that weren't ordinarily worn as human garments. But what happens? Amar, if he says konam, semer alai, if the person makes their vow that anything of wool is forbidden to me like a sacrifice, mutar lehitkasot begizet semer. They are permitted to put on wool shearings. Okay, hapishtan ole alai, right? Pieces of wool. Okay, right? So lay it on him. Okay, if he makes his vow, hapishtan ole alai, regarding flax, okay, it's forbidden on me. Mutar lehitkatzot ba'anitze pishtan. He is permitted to cover himself with stalks or bundles of flax. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, Hakol lefi hanoder. Remember, this is why I said earlier in the example that between Dagan and Tvu'ah, maybe we were talking about biblical versus everyday language. And this is why it comes back up here. Okay? It is based on what the language of the vower is.
On the circumstances in
right?
which making it, and
Right.
then
Right. Hakol lefi hanoder, the person and the situation. Ta'an vehizia. If he was working and he was sweated up. Vayarecho kasher, and his odor was extenuating. Okay. Amar, and he says, konam tsemer upishtin ole alai, and makes a vow that neither wool nor flax are permitted on me. Mutar lehitkasot, he's permitted to cover himself over, va'asur lahafshil la'acharav, but he is not able to sort of throw it on his back.
He was carrying a bundle of woolen garments, and it was hot, and he was schwitzing. So circumstantially, when he says, I make a vow, I'm not going to carry wool, I'm not going to have wool on me, the context indicates he's not talking about clothing, he's talking about the package. That's the implication.
Okay.
Because we'll see later.
We'll see. I didn't
Because
see
it
that at all.
says he can wear wool clothes, even
We'll
though he
see.
made the
That's
vow,
what the
We'll see.
mission.
but he can't carry a bundle of wool
We'll see.
because the context was he was not happy about being a bird, a
We'll see.
bearer of a bird.
Tanya, new Gemara. Hanoder min aksut mutar besak b'yuriya ubechamila. Okay, again, the Bright is telling us one who takes a vow, refraining from a garment, is permitted with sackcloth, with this curtain or this other kind of woolen garment that we're going to see is made rainproof. Va'asur b'punda, but he is prohibited with a punda, which is a kind of belt, ub'pieces kaya.
Ron says it's like a money belt. That's
Okay,
hollow.
okay, and that's a kind of sock, leather sock. Ubasukratia, that's another kind of leather garment, sort of more, okay. Ubekatvalia. So these were either a sash or a leather top
It's
or a
like
kind of leather
apron to
skirt,
protect your clothes.
okay,
Right.
or a leather shirt, or the other was like almost like a tanner's apron,
Right.
okay. Palia, upalnaya, umichnasayim bekoba, okay, or a pants or a hat. My iskurte. What do we mean by this garment that's called eskurte? Amarava bar barchana, he says, kitona detzala. Okay, that's clearly, he
A
said,
leather
a kind of leather tunic or a kind of leather shirt. Okay, if you look at old pictures of what was common,
Robin Hood.
Roman
Oh, the
garments.
Robin Hood were the
Okay,
animals.
okay, but particularly Roman garments. Okay. Tanya, another brighter. Yotzin besak ava, one can go out with a thick, heavy sackcloth, and this is regarding Shabbos. Ube sanus ava, and also again with another kind of garment. Okay, ubiyiriya, okay, ubechamila. So it's with again the kind of sheet or the kind of like chamila, kind of curtain garment, wool. B'pnei hageshamim. Why? Because of the rain. Okay, so this is what's suggesting that these items were, even though they may have been made of wool, they were coated with something to protect from rain. Avalo b'teva, but they cannot use a chest, velo b'kupa, or a basket, velo b'machzelet, or not use a mat, mipnei hagshamim, because of the rain.
So in modern nomenclature, you wouldn't be able to cut a hole in a plastic bag and put it over you.
Because that's not a normal garment.
Yeah, I mean, that would be called carrying, not wearing. Here, you're inverting a basket over your head
Right.
to protect it.
Okay, haroim yotzim. Okay, and now it tells us that the shepherds go out bisakim with these wool sackcloths. Velo roim bilvad. Okay, and not only the shepherds. Amru ela kol adam ela shedibru chachamim bahova. But we're not referring only to the shepherds, but other people do so. But the rabbis were referring to it because that was the common apparel at that time. We'll finish up. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, he says as follows: Hakol lefi hanoder v'chulei. What do we mean when we say that it's based on the vower and the situation? Tanya, says the Braita. Keitzad amar Rabbi Yehuda hakol lefi hanoder. Under what circumstances did he say that? Excuse me. Haya lavush tzemer, if he was wearing wool, vahatzar, and it was difficult for him. Okay, he was right. He was uncomfortable. Uncomfortable, right? Va'amar konem tzemer ole alai. I make a vow that this wool shouldn't be on me. Asur lilbosh. It is prohibited to wear it. Umutar liton, but it's permitted to carry it. hayataun pishtan v'hizia. If he was carrying a bundle of flax, right, and he was schwitzing there, va'amar, and he says, konam pishtan ole alai. Okay, again making the vow, right, regarding the flax. Okay, mutar lilvosh, he's permitted to wear it, va'asur liton, but he is prohibited
No longer
to
can
carry.
So if
Okay.
you happen to work as a schlepper and you have a frum boss.
Yeah.
So you could make a neder, I'm not schlepping anymore.
We'll see. Okay, have a safe, good trip up north.
We're learning today.
Is it final today?
Thank you, Rabbi Green. Thank you.
Okay.
Very
Rabbi Green,
Yes,
I
sir.
want to see what-
Have a wonderful day. Be well. Chanukah Sameach.
Yeah, I can try.
I think to be able to.
Okay, Melvin. We're out of here.
I have an account in Israel, in the bank,